Test, test. All right, sweet. Had audio issues. Stand by, everybody.
Megtooth Sabers requires a lot of work on engineering, drilling, smoothing, tapping, setting, imagining, cutting, stripping, twisting, dipping, tin it, pin it, wire it, fire it, lock it, blast it, swing it, bash it. Megtooth Sabers.
Bam, we're live. So, sorry everybody. I meant to let some of this down, so stand by. I'm going to lower you guys a little bit because this is a little bit high. So y'all just bear with me. I'm sorry I didn't have this done before you guys. I got you guys live, but oh Lord. So Jen's brother invited us over for dinner right before I went live, and it was kind of pushing it as to whether or not I could do dinner at Jen's brother's house and then come here and do live. And like, we just finished eating dinner over at her brother's house like 10 minutes ago, and I got here just in time to go live. Woo! So it's crazy. Hey Norman Santiago. Yeah, I decided to go live tonight. So the purpose, and we're going to eventually get to this, we're going to take this Saber apart tonight. And, you know, I mean, this Saber works right now. I mean, I'll show you. But, you know, I'll show you why we're going to take it apart. And, hey, Fernando. Summer's going great, Fernando. I'm trying to get caught up on all these lightsaber projects. So this is a KR Sabers Flagship, and this is one of my best customers. And he broke the chassis on this thing. We're going to put a brand new chassis in this. I already have the chassis. It's up here somewhere, but it has a 28mm speaker where this one just runs a 24. Of course, this is running Profi 1.5, the recharge port. What we're going to do is we're going to use a different chassis that has a usual replaceable 18650 and a 28mm bass speaker, and the Profi will be buried up in here. And, you know, we're still going to use this dual outlet. But this thing works. I mean, you know, I'm going to take the kill key out. You can see it's kind of quiet because it's got that, you know, smaller speaker. But, you know, the Saber works. Everything works on it. It doesn't have gestures because this is like on Profi 2 point something. It's an older config. So anyway, the Saber works. So I hate taking a Saber that works and, you know, taking it apart. But that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to take this Saber apart. We're going to put a new chassis in it. Oh, Solo Saber's on. Hey, man. It's good to see you, Jeremy. So yeah, we're going to take a functioning Saber that works, and we're going to take it apart, and we're going to put Robert Sotomayor flagship chassis in this thing. This is one of the first flagships I ever installed. This is on a really old Profi OS. I think it's like 2 point something. It's really old. It's got a Profi 1.5 in it. We're going to put a modern Sotomayor chassis in that thing, and it's going to be golden. I think I had the chassis here somewhere. Yeah. So here's the chassis that's going in this Saber. You know, that's where the button's going to go, right there. And the user replaceable battery, and of course it's going to get a 28mm Smuggler's Outpost speaker going right there, the Elite speaker. And I'm also going to put, you know, probably a stock click connector in there or something, you know, in the end. This one has one, and it kind of got burnt out. This is like one of the Gen 1 stock connectors. I mean, it still works a little bit, but, you know, not as good as it once did. So that's on the agenda for that. Second, the other night I was watching one of Jeremy's live streams, Solo Sabers. You know, Solo Sabers does a live stream every Friday night where he does an install. Now, I highly suggest you all use that. And on Solo Sabers, Kim Kanama was on there and a couple others, and they were talking about, hey, you can get a $140 Graflex 2.0. And I'm like, what? So I had a Graflex 2.0. Hey, chat, I had a Graflex 2.0 kit that was in my inventory, and I was saving this because I wanted to do a Star Killer on this. I really wanted to send it to, I can't remember his name right now, but he's in Texas. And I wanted him to do, you know, a Star Killer for me because he does the best Star Killers. Y'all, when I say he does the best Graflex 2.0 Star Killer conversions, you'll know who I'm talking about. And, you know, I want to send it to him. I don't think he's even doing lightsabers anymore, but he might do those Star Killer conversions. So that was my intention for this 2.0 kit. But then when I heard the other ones, they were like $140. I'm like, oh my God. So I picked up 2 more of them. So like when you know, you're talking Graflex, and then, you know, I got TGS Graflexes. So, you know, what's the difference between a TGS Graflex and a Graflex 2.0? So I figure I'll show you because I've got a Graflex 2.0 kit right here. So this is a Graflex 2.0 kit. You know, this one's in ESB fashion. This is actually Smooth Jazz Family's Graflex, which I got to send to him. So, you know, Sarmiento, if you tuning in, 70 bucks shipped for the repair of the buttons and the brand new config. And this is running OS 6. I'll show you all that later. But let's pop in. I know this is, yeah, Joe Hernandez. Thank you, Jeremy. That's who I was talking about. So this is a Graflex 2.0, and this is a, you know, a TGS replica. You know, in the end, I mean, y'all tell me, you know, a 2.0 for the non-discerning eye is not bad. I realize what everybody says, why this is better, and that's great. But to be honest with y'all, these 2.0s, they were never really that bad. You know, you can do quite a bit with either the 2.0 or the TGS. So if you want a Graflex, you know, and you want it to be more movie accurate, I'm going to tell you should get the TGS or the Romans. But if you want a Graflex, or if you want to do a Scraplex, like Solo Sabers, Jeremy just did a Scraplex. I think I think Benji built it for him, but he just showed it on his channel the other night. And that Scraplex is a prime example of why these Graflex 2.0s are so awesome, because you can take these kits apart and, you know, you can do so much with them besides building a, you know, a Graflex, like a traditional Graflex. You can do a Scraplex. You can do a Graflex 2.0 kit into oh, I know, I had to go get it. And, you know, I'm hoping I can still send one of these to Joe Hernandez and he can make me a Star Killer, which is what I was trying to say. The name eluded me, but he turned these into a custom Star Killer hilt, and they're pretty awesome when you see what Joe Hernandez does. His work is pretty much second to none there. And I don't want him to install it or nothing. I just want him to turn it into the kit. And, you know, y'all seen some others do heat staining and other cool stuff on those Graflex 2.0 kits that I don't think I'd necessarily do to like a TGS or a Roman's replica Graflex flash. But you can do a lot with these Graflexes. So I want to talk about that a little bit. And, you know, I got the soldering iron warming up over here, and I've got to get the camera going over here, so stand by. Let me figure out how I'm going to mount that camera. And it ain't going to be perfect tonight, y'all, because I'm throwing all this together last minute. But I'm going to try and put the camera over here on my workbench so y'all can see it. And, you know, basically what we're going to do is y'all are going to be watching me deconstruct this flagship lightsaber. And, you know, we'll be going to town. So that's kind of the mission. Oh, my shirt's sticking out. That looks horrible. But anyway, yeah, that was kind of, you know, the opening tonight. The cold open was talking about all that stuff. I know I'm talking a million miles a second. So really quick, y'all, my new job is awesome. It's a lot better. I think I'm going to have more time to get back into Sabers, but I have to get all this stuff cleared off my bench. I've got all these repairs. I got the one going to Sarmiento. That Graflex is done. It's on OS 6. I got this flagship and another Graflex that's in a box over here that I'm replacing the chassis in. That one Graflex it was a Graflex 2.0 with a master chassis in it, and I thought I was going to be able to repair that without having to reinstall that saber. But the more I mess with it, the more I'm like, I'm going to have to reinstall that whole lightsaber. It's just a mess. So because it's broken, and the way it was broken, it just caused a bunch of shorts. So I have to do these two sabers, a saber for a person at work, and then I think I'm finally caught back up. And then I can hopefully get into the KRO or cross guards, which I'm going to get done. And, you know, I'm pretty excited about that. So this is one of the repair jobs I got to get done. So since I've got to get it done, I was going to bring you all along for the ride. So let's do that. Let's get to business. And, you know, while I'm at it, we can start talking about other things. So, you know, whatever y'all are into. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. You know, I'm going to be pretty busy over here in a second, you know, with soldering and all that. Because we're actually going to be desoldering a bunch of stuff. So stand by, I'm going to put y'all on a screen share where you can't see this camera. And, you know, I'm going to move you guys, so stand by. It's going to get a little crazy. And try to find what's going to work here. Let me see what I want to see what I'm looking at without necessarily you guys. And we'll bring this lightsaber over here. And hopefully we'll be able to see what's going on there. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. Especially on a Graflex Master chassis, Jeremy, because the customer broke the Master chassis on the Graflex. Well, I repaired the chassis break but when he broke the chassis, he caused a lot of other electrical system breakdowns inside that Saber, and yeah, it's horrible. So I'm gonna have to go and reinstall that whole thing. Okay, so here we are, and you know, we have this. And check this out, Hero control box there. But that's a custom one from the Mad Science Workshop. So I got tons of those Hero control boxes that I'm messing around with. That one's pretty cool. But let's get back to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to deinstall this Saber. So I'm going to remove the handle, and you know, because the chassis is broken, it's all rubbing in there. I think this is actually one of Sotomayor's chassis. I think it's an older chassis that Sotomayor did on these. And I'll show you the difference on the new chassis. So like here's the new Flagship chassis, and here's the one that's in there. So you can see the difference. Number one, this chassis is going to slide all the way in here, and it's going to seal in there, and this button actually seals inside this hole here. So that's how that's going to work. And then on the other side, you know, the soundboard will be actually inside the hilt on the bottom, and there is no recharge port. And then what Robert Sotomayor did was he basically shortened the chassis so that he could use a 28mm speaker, and got rid of the recharge port, and you used to have to use I think it was 24mm or 26mm chassis in there. And there you can see the chassis broke right there. So you know, we're getting ready to desolder all this. And by the way, all this hot goo fixing that chassis was not me. That was the customer that hot gooed the chassis back together, and you see it didn't work. So that's why we're redoing this Saber, because we're going to put a new chassis in it. So my soldering iron's heated up, I think. Whoa, look out, don't drop it. And we're going to rock and roll here. So, you know, this is kind of crazy, because I don't even remember how that chassis, you know, seated in there. I don't see any set screws, I think, that would hold that chassis in. So maybe it was just friction fit in there, and you can see the old battery was right there. I don't even know what I'm going to do with that battery. But I know one thing for sure, we need to get that Profi board out of there. And again, I didn't put all this hot goo in there, because I put in Profi boards with E6000. So, you know, that hot goo looks like somebody else's junk there, because I use E6000. But at any rate, I need to get this board out of there. So I think I'm going to heat up this hot goo real quick. And once I heat up this hot goo, hopefully I can get the board out of there. And once I get the board out of there, then we'll start desoldering the thing. But yeah, so I use E6000 to secure these things. And okay, there, got the soundboard out. So now the soundboard's out. And this is my install for sure, so you guys will be able to see. This is a pretty old install. This one is, you know, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, something like that. And, you know, there you can see my wiring. How I jumpered and bridged those for the main LED, you know, probably not so hot, but, I mean, that's kind of what we did back then. But I'll probably leave it. I mean, it's working. The FETs aren't burnt or nothing, so all the FETs are okay. But what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to start desoldering all these wires so we can deinstall this thing. Now the thing is this recharge port, yeah, all this still has power. So I'm trying to shut this recharge port off so that, you know, we've at least killed power before I start desoldering these things. So, oh, hey, Robert Myers. Oh yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good. You save those batteries for your personal Sabers because you're cheap. Which batteries do you save, Jeremy? At any rate, so now we've killed the power to this soundboard, and I'm going to grab our positive wire. I'm going to get rid of the power wires first, I think. And then I'm going to use my my handy dandy hemostats, and I've grabbed onto that power wire, and I'm going to heat up that pad and put a little bit of pressure on the soundboard. Sometimes they don't want to go. Right? This is an older Profi 1.5. I'm trying not to damage it. Ah, there it goes. It fell out. So I'm trying not to damage these things as I'm desoldering. Now sometimes, like when you're desoldering, it does help to, you know, 10-year soldering iron with a little bit of fresh solder. So fresh solder on the tip of your iron actually helps to conduct, you know, heat. And, you know, that was an especially big wire. I think back then I was using 22 gauge on the positive, but now I use 26. So, you know, I'm going to be rewiring this. And I'm going to use my modern methods when I rewire it. So now I'm taking out the main switch. Bam, that came out a lot easier. And now we're going to do, looks like, I'm going to leave that, that's our ground jumper. So I'm going to turn this thing around. And I'm going to pull out this white wire, which this is our main battery negative, and that is not a good solder on that main battery negative. So I can do a lot better than that now. That was not so nice, but we'll do a much better job soldering the new one in. So I can certainly do a better job than that soldering the new one in. We want to keep that apart from the positive because that thing's hot, especially when the recharge port's not on. And now we're going to desolder this speaker, which you can see is one of those, I don't remember, what was that name brand of that guy that we were using his speakers back in this day? I have some in my speaker box here, I'll tell you in just a second. Adrian Tan, I think, was his name. So this is one of his speakers. I can tell because of the wires that he used. And then I'm going to get rid of data. And there's one of the datas. Come on, baby. Let go. She don't want to come out. So I'm going to hold on to her. And I think I wired separate data on the Dimitri stock adapter here, so that's why there's 2 data lines. And remember, Profi 1.5 has 4 data lines on it. So these are 2 of our 4 data lines that we were using. And then I think this is probably I should have taken the SD card out of there. So bada bing, there's our Profi board 1.5. Now I should have taken the SD card out of there. Look, this one has a 4 gigabyte SD card in it. And this is my my ground to ground jumper that you have to do on Profi 1.5s, and I'm going to have to redo that. Make that a little bit neater. And here you can see my old style of jumping the FETs. So on the Profi 1.5s, you had to tie FETs 1, 2, and 3 together, and then you ran the main blade, you know, off, you know, FETs 1, 2, and 3. So basically, and I'm probably not going to do this on camera, but this soundboard needs to be cleaned up. I need to get the solder, most of the solder out of it, and make it happen. Yeah, hemostats. These things are awesome, guys. I don't know what I would do without hemostats, especially on a deconstruction job like this. So, you know, that's just definitely rocking and rolling. Okay, so now what I want to do, because I'm a little bit concerned about this battery being hot and in here and all these wires kind of jumbling around, like I'm probably crossing them up now. You know, danger, Will Robinson, danger. You got positive wire loose hanging around there. You know, they would probably be really mad at me, that guy from... so I'm going to cut the positive wire there, find a good place to cut the negative wire, negative battery wire. Let's see, I'm going to cut it there. And, oh, I didn't cut my positive wire right. I need to cut it there. All right, so there. My battery is now disconnected from the recharge port and all that stuff. And, you know, back I've got insulation on the battery, solid. So I can actually pull this battery out now. I don't even know what brand of battery this is in here. We're about to find out. Custom Saber Shot battery, and this one I don't think is any good. This one was an old 10 amp custom Saber Shot battery, so a much better battery is the 15 amp, you know, custom Saber Shot battery. So it's a good thing we're doing this, because that battery really wasn't ideal for this Saber. But yeah, hemostats are a great tool, Max. I hope you're building your Saber, but you know, we're not going to reuse this battery because the chassis we're putting in here uses, you know, just normal button top 18650s, and Jeremy will appreciate this. Just remember, you know, Tone, spring side your negative, spring side your negative. So when you're, you know, when you're inserting your battery, the negative on the battery, the minus sign on the battery goes to the spring. Spring side your negative when you insert your battery. And this is going to be one of the batteries I probably use. This is a 3000 milliamp key power 18650 with a 15 amp cutoff circuit. So this is really the right battery for this Saber. Spring side your negative. Tony already knows that, but spring side your negative. So that's how the new chassis is going to fit in there. But let's get this old chassis. Let's finish getting this old chassis out of there. You hate taking apart a Saber that was working. You know, when I showed you at the beginning of the video, this Saber was functioning. And, you know, off we go. There, you know, this is speaker. This is recharge port wires. So the red was going to, you know, one red was going to the profit board. One red was going to the recharge port. This is my white coming out of the recharge port. And then a black and red going to the recharge port. I don't even know what the hell that is. And this is speaker wires. God only knows what I was thinking back then. Who knows? This was 4 years ago. But at any rate, you know, there's the recharge port. I'm going to leave this. I'll finish taking this recharge port and this speaker out because, you know, I'll be able to reuse some of those in any personal Sabers that I have that need a recharge port. I'm going to pull out this chassis. Now you can see that chassis was E6000 in there. So that is definitely Telltale E6000, which is, you know, a little bit more my speed. Telltale E6000. I'm going to try not to screw up my switch wires because I'm hoping I'll be able to reuse those switch wires. So I'm going to go ahead and push that switch assembly out of the lightsaber. It's probably E6000 in as well, so it's not going to be easy. Ugh. And it is E6000 in. I can see it. And this is one of Robert Sotomayor's early these dual switch assemblies. And this one was actually Delrin. And, you know, he had his brass switches in there. But you can see that's one of Sotomayor's, which, you know, is really nice. So I'm going to reuse this. And I'm going to reuse the same switch assembly and my wires. And that way I don't have to redo those wires again. So, you know, both switches worked. So now we're down to, the only thing I have to do is I got to get our NeoPixel module out of there. And the NeoPixel module, I believe this is the retention screw for the NeoPixel module. And this is an old stock one. So, yeah, spring side you're negative. This is an old stock one here, so I'm going to loosen this blade retention. Another thing, I might put one of the Sotomayor's glass eyes as blade retention in this thing. Tony would probably like that. So I'm going to loosen what is our blade retention now. Oh, and there's the one blade retention thing that popped out. And let's try to get this out of there. These stock things, they don't like to... And this one's no good, so, you know, I'm going to push it out of there, and I might get a little aggressive with it because it's not wanting to come out. So I might get a little jiggy with this thing. Oh, no, it's going to come out. There it goes. Out she goes. So this is the stock connector, and this is the one of the V1s. And this thing still worked. I mean, it still made the blade work. I illuminated the blade at the beginning of the video, but the LEDs on it didn't work anymore. The customer did use this Saber quite a bit. I mean, this thing's 4 years old, and this is a V1 stock, so it didn't last for 4 years. And, you know, you can tell this is his old holders from the V1, so this is quite a while ago. And, yeah, red dot on the battery never hurts either. So, basically, there you go. But voila, we've disassembled the KR Flagship Saber. And we're ready to rock and roll with the new chassis. So I'll show you how the new chassis solution is going to work in just a second. But, you know, this was an installed Saber a minute ago, and now it's empty again. KR Sabers Flagship. And the etch on this was done by Bad Batch X etching, but quite a while ago. This was probably, you know, one of his earlier etches. But this Saber pretty much goes to my #1 customer, and I'm trying to get his Sabers done and out to him, which his Sabers are the last on my bench. But how this chassis works is this hole lines up with your switch hole there, and you can install it. You can install the chassis with your switch already installed, and that chassis, the way Robert cut that cutout in it, you can still sneak the chassis by with your switches installed, which I like that better, and I'll show you. So if I install my switches in there, so I didn't have to rip them out. But if I install my switches in there, then I can still take Robert Sotomayor's chassis and these switch wires are going to be more than long enough because on this particular chassis, the Profi board mounts up front. So these switch wires are plenty long enough, which is why I really don't want to mess those switch wires up. But you can take this chassis and sneak it past that switch because of the cutout in it. And there you can see what the end product's going to look like. The Profi board is going to be just visible there. And I have an example of an installed chassis that's like this that I can show you all on my flagship. My Profi board 3.7 is installed in a chassis just like this. So this is going to be the new chassis. Of course, it's going to have a Smuggler's Outpost 28mm speaker in there. I'm going to reuse our Profi board 1.5 in there, and the Profi board 1.5 will actually be resting inside there. And the only thing you'll see is the battery. I'm going to try to make it so he can still access the USB plug, because on mine you can. It's a tight fit, but you can still do it. So stand by. I'll show you what it looks like. I actually have two of them. I'll bring my flagships over and we'll show you my two while we're here under the camera. So let me move some of these tools out of the way, and this flagship we've just deconstructed. I see you have deconstructed a new lightsaber. Yes, we have. All right, so here's my brass flagship, right? Woo, thing's loud. Need to put some grease and lube those threads. So spring side, your negative. And then there's, you know, my Profi board, which you have access to. This is a Profi 2.2 in this. This is my brass flagship. And of course I did a Sotomayor button there, you know, blade retention, which, you know, holds in my blade plug. And this one has this one also has that same stock V1. I'm trying to get it on the camera. I don't even think y'all are going to be able to see that on the camera. But this one has that same V1 stock lit connector. It looks just like this. Just like this. It's the same one. But at any rate, you know, that's what this, I think that's what we're heading towards with this graflex that we deconstructed tonight. And, you know, I got the same chassis on my other hilt as well. So it's great to see everybody. I'm so happy to be live tonight, back in the lightsabers. You know, it's pretty awesome. So this is my Profi board 3.7. This etch was done by Bad Batch Etching as well. And you can see it's got my logo, which it's my saber. It's my personal saber. So I wanted the logo on there. It's pretty cool. This is also the saber that I took to Disney World that was in that saber meetup. But at any rate, this one has the Profi board 3.7, which still isn't in it. There's only 10 in existence, and this is one of them. One of the 3.7s, of course, Springside, your negative, 28mm bass speaker, Bob's your auntie. That's going to rock and roll. So this is basically what this new chassis system is going to look like in this saber, so you guys can see what the Sotomayor chassis looks like. Now, I will have to do some modifications here for the Profi board 1.5 so that I can make it stick up. So I'm going to have to make it stick up in the back of this chassis. Here, I'll show you. Once I get this chassis out of here. Okay, so when the Profi board mounts in here, and I still have a lot of work doing that Profi board, it's going to be like this, and of course that's going to be inside the saber. So what I try to do is mount it a little bit up like this, so I can still get the USB plug in there when the saber's mounted. You can still see that. But then what that happens is when you raise this up a little bit, it starts putting your pads dangerously close to the inside threading in your hilt. So if you see, like, you can see it better on the brass one, but I actually put paper covering the pads, like especially here at the end, to keep the, you know, Profi board insulated so it doesn't touch the hilt. So that's the tricky part on using Sotomayor's chassis. You know, that's my only criticism of this chassis is, like, you know, you kind of have to cant the board up, and you can't really mount it in the chassis if you want to still be able to access the USB plug. And especially for the modern features of Profi board, to be able to use that USB plug for, you know, for the Profi board workbench and web USB editing is kind of important. Putting that chassis back together. So Eric Cadle asked, what's the deal with Profi board 3.7? So there are about 10 of them made. I think there's 3 or 4 lightsabers that are actually working with Profi board 3.7. You happen to be looking at one of them. I know the other one, I know Fernando was building one, but he got sidetracked doing Profi OS 6. But I know Brian Connor built an OS 6, a Profi board 3.7 saber. And I know that Frederick did. What's going on with the boards? Well, you know, the boards are ready. We've tested them. This saber's been running Profi board 3.7 for over a year now, and I don't have any problems with the Profi board 3.7. It's awesome. It's as awesome now as the day I installed it. This is a very powerful platform for the lightsaber. It's got a lot of cool stuff. It's got onboard battery charging through USB, a lot more memory, different way it reads the card files on the SD card. The big problem with the Profi board 3.7 and why they haven't gone to market yet is because of the chip shortage. The same chip shortage that's, you know, causing problems in the auto industry and computer industry and everything else you guys are dealing with right now all over the world is causing a problem with, you know, us being able, well, not us, like I'm producing Profi board 3.7s. Yeah, right. It's causing a problem with Frederick being able to mass produce the 3.7s, and it's really Cal from KR Sabers and Electronics 123 and those kind of companies. They can't mass produce these things because they don't have the chips. And it's not just the brain chips, it's also, you know, other chips like the motion sensing chips and all that. And when we can't get those into, you know, the countries we need to produce the chips, then the Sabers, you know, I mean, the Saber soundboards, they don't get built. So Cal has still found enough and sourced enough chips where he could build Profi Board 2.2s. But as far as building the Profi Board 3.7s, that chipset is unavailable. You know, Frederick's looked at alternatives and other things, but, you know, right now that Profi Board 3.7 is like, you know, not available. But, you know, when the chipset, you know, if y'all haven't been watching the news, you know, Congress just passed, you know, a chip funding thing, and, you know, Nancy Pelosi's husband profited from it. If y'all haven't watched the insider story, insider trading crap that's going on there, you know, our Congress people up there trading on information they get. But at any rate, the Congress did pass legislation this week that's funding basically companies in the United States to build these chipsets. And the whole purpose of that legislation was, you know, our government finally realized, hey, it wasn't good that we exported all these, you know, manufacturing deals to China. And, you know, we need to bring it back home. And so the U.S. government's investing in some of these companies to, and I think NVIDIA was a big recipient of a lot of these investments from Congress to bring building the chipsets back to the United States. So here's another, you know, thing, gives you some insight about what's going on in the world. Do y'all know which country houses the current largest two chipset production factories in the world? Do you know where which country is that happens in? And I know there's like a 45-second delay, so I'm trying to see if anybody knows. But it's certainly a country or area that's in quite a bit of controversy right now, and potentially in the world's eyes. Oh yeah, thank you everybody. You know, hit that like button. You know, I really appreciate the likes and the shares on my videos, and I hope my videos help people. It was kind of funny tonight. We got to see Destructo. You know, we took this old broken POS chassis out of this old build, and then, you know, we have a new chassis we're going to be installing. So I think what I'm going to do next week, y'all, is I'm going to be installing this, and I'll do this install next week so y'all can see it. But I'm trying to see if anybody can answer that question. And I haven't seen any answers pop up yet on what's the largest chip building nation. And it's very much in the news. And that should be a hint. And no, it's not Ukraine. But it's very close to that. And no, it's not Korea. It is Taiwan. It's Taiwan. And, you know, with the threats against Taiwan, now you kind of understand why the world really doesn't want China invading Taiwan, because Taiwan, the two largest chip manufacturers in the entire world, are in Taiwan. And, you know, that's a very important part of the world. But if we can start manufacturing chips here in the United States, hopefully we can get out of this chip shortage, and then we can have Frederick start building, you know, our Profi Board 3.7s. By the way, y'all, I'm going to get rid of all this solder and all this crazy crap you see on this board. This is going to be cleaned up. You'll see next week when we go to install it. It's going to be a beautiful thing. But yeah, it's Taiwan, Janice. So Taiwan is the largest chip manufacturer in the world, and right now they're under threat of invasion from China, which is a little scary. So yeah, you know, that's why Taiwan is such an important pivotal role. And here's another hint. Guess where this Saber lives? Guess where this Saber came to me from? Taiwan. One of my best customers lives in Taiwan, and him and his family fled Hong Kong, and now they're living in Taiwan, and they're all scared. And, you know, it really sucks when all this stuff is happening on the world stage. Here's the cool thing about lightsabers, y'all. You know, building these lightsabers, there's nerds all over the world, and I had no idea. But nerds are like all over the world. You got nerds in the United States, you got nerds in Mexico, you got nerds in Taiwan, you got Star Wars nerds everywhere. So, it's going to take a while. Supposedly, Janice, that, you know, supposedly, I think by Christmas, maybe, we'll have those chips that are back in production. Yes, they are Kybertech Sabers. You know, American production is ramping up on chips and superconductors here in the United States, and that's a good thing for lightsaber communities. That's why Profi boards, y'all, that's why they're so expensive right now. because the chipsets, these chips, it's this little chip right here. This is the demon right here. This one right here is in a massive shortage. These are the brain chips behind the Profi board. That is the brain of the Profi board right there. And those things are in massively short supply. And the Profi board 3.7 uses an even different chipset than this. And that's why the 3.7s can't go into production. But hopefully soon, y'all. The thing is you know, once the production ramps up in the U.S. and other countries on these chipsets, I think, you know, we'll be out of this shortage soon enough. But it's just taking these countries a while to gear everything up and get running. But you know, it'll all be happening soon. It'll be awesome. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the problem. You know, the one thing the pandemic, I think, showed every country in the world is that, number one, we can't have China manufacturing all of our PPE because then they control it. And number two, letting China dominate the manufacturing market was a really, 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 really bad idea. And so, you know, every now and then you guys will see me post in the Saber groups. Like today, somebody posted something about the patch store Sabers in the lightsaber call-out group. And my only post in response to that is Chinesium. And the reason that I post Chinesium on people that are buying Chinese sabers, because the people that are buying them are part of the problem. If you want cheap, it is not good. Cheap is not good, and good is not cheap. If it is cheap, it's made in China, and it's no good. It's not going to last. It uses cheap components. It doesn't work. They don't have good instructions. They don't stand behind their products. It's impossible to send them back. And, you know, I know a lot of these Chinese resellers are making a lot of money, but to me, it was a cheap way for people to get in the lightsaber community, and I've talked about that in a couple of my previous videos, and I really don't want to talk about that too much more, except to say that good is not cheap, and cheap is not good. And Chinesium, and stand by, because I'm going to get y'all back on a normal camera so we can chat, and we can finish out this video today. Oops, stand by. Because that way I can get down to Jin Jin. Let me make sure that we're solid here and get. All right, hey, my battery died. Are y'all there? My battery died, and I had my camera plugged in. I don't know what happened. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Everybody hear me? Battery died. Battery died. Man, I had my camera plugged in. What the hell is going on there? Oh, came unplugged. Came unplugged. That's what happened. Yeah, my camera came unplugged. Yeah. So that's what happened. Camera came unplugged. Hopefully I got y'all back and y'all are starting to come back. Hope, can you hear me? Everybody hear me? Should be golden. But at any rate, awesome. Sweet, Chet. So yeah, I had my battery died. That's what happened. So I switched to my backup camera. So you guys are on backup camera now. But what I was saying before we got rudely interrupted was tonight we deconstructed this lightsaber, which was perfectly functioning perfectly well when we first began, and now it's empty and there's nothing in it. And next week, same back time, same back channel, we'll be installing this chassis with the 28mm speaker, spring side your negative, and we'll be off. Sweet. Sorry about that. My camera battery died, y'all. It was plugged in, but the plug was unplugged over here, so the whole time we were live, it was running off the battery. It was just killing the camera battery, and it died, and bam, out it went. So, I think what we're going to do next week is we'll do the install on that flagship, and maybe the week after that we'll do the config file on that. And I think I'm going to do a simple install on that. I think I'm going to make the stock connector, or I might even use the CC connector. I may order a CC connector and see what they're all about, and the lit connector, and fire up the CC on that and just make it all related to the main blade. So no sub blades, no alternative blades. So I just have a one blade config, and make it simple. And that way we can do a simple config, and we're rock and roll. Start doing my Sabers a little bit simpler. So that's kind of the plan on that. So really quick, and I don't want to name the company, but I used to work for a company that we made these sound rigs for, and I'm not going to name the company. But you can go and look at my YouTube channel. I did a lot of demonstration videos for these sound rigs, and I was involved in that company pretty extensively. In December of 2021, I got uninvolved in it. I was busy at work. I had too much going on at work to really dedicate to it. But how it all ended wasn't that great. And, now things look like they're going south in that company. And I want to make sure that anybody knows about my affiliation with that company, that I have not been affiliated with that company since December of 2021, because it looks like things are going south on the internet for them. So I want to make sure that everybody knows I am not involved in that company anymore. I'm only Megtooth Sabers. But I wanted to get that out there, because I've actually done some, a buddy of mine has a Boba Fett rig, and I actually redid that. Oh yeah. So Janice, I have several cameras that I use, and basically right now I'm using cell phone cameras. And yes, I do. If you've seen some of my close-up videos on soundboards, I'm actually using a cell phone camera for that. And the funny thing is for that one, I've got it here somewhere. Oh yeah. So, and by the way, I don't know if Kim Kanama's still on, but I know Kim was on the video earlier. So Kim makes these PCBs, and y'all can see how small this is. And these have little neopixels on these PCBs. They're 1515s. That means they're like 1.5 millimeters by 1.5 millimeters. They're very tiny. These things are so small, when I was orienting them on these PCBs to solder them, I had to zoom in with my cell phone camera just to make sure they were oriented properly on the pads, and then you have to hit them. So, the cell phone cameras come in handy for a lot of the videos that I make. And yes, I use my cell phone camera for these live videos. And the reason that cell phone camera died is because I was at work all day today. I didn't have that cell phone on the charger. And so, I come in here at night, and, the cell phone died. So that's why the stream went dead there for a minute. But, I've got my backup cell phone, and switched to my backup while my, primary is on the charge. So, there you go. Yeah, there are installers making Profis Max. KR Sabers are selling them for about $100. The Saber Bay is selling them for about the same price here in the United States. I think Corbanth is selling them too. And there's quite a few of those available. We were really hoping that run of Profi 2.2s would last until, we could do Profi board 3.7s. I know Frederick was getting concerned, and he was trying to find other chips and other options for Profi board 3.7. But to be honest with y'all, I was so happy with Profi board 3.7. I'm just patient to run Profi 2.2s until we can build Profi board 3.7s. And I think once we can get 3.7s on the market, y'all will really be happy. They're really pretty awesome. Oh, and by the way, Janice, these are both droids. They're, I don't know. I don't pay that much attention to these phones. But they're Samsung's Galaxy S7s, S10s, something like that. Yeah, Eric, you're right. I mean, I can't see those things. I have to have a magnifying glass to see into those things. And Kim Kanama, I mean, I think Kim's younger than me, but when he designed these PCBs, man, those things are just fantastic. So I think when we finish installing this Saber next Monday, then I think we'll go back and I want to show some hot air soldering on those PCBs. But I definitely wanted to show you all the graflexes tonight, which I did that. And wanted to talk about those Graflex 2.0s. Those were awesome. And I should do a video of the video setup. My video setup is amateur. I watch guys like Kyberphonic and K-Sith, and their video is so much better because they're using a 35mm SLR and they're shooting in high definition, and it's just so, I mean, they're shooting in 4K. And these cameras I think are shooting in, I mean, they're shooting in high definition, but I think it's, I don't know, maybe 1020. I don't know. It's definitely not 4K. But yeah, this setup is amateurish. But yeah, I mean, someday I can definitely do a video of my setup, but that's going to have to be at a later date. Because right now, the big problem with videotaping my setup is the business is in here, and we got a lot of stuff going on with the bracelet business, so that's happening. Yeah, Kim Kanama knows about the other business I was involved in. And yeah, Kim, that thing went way south when I talked to you. And the cool thing is me and Kim were kind of working together on that project a little bit. And I'm kind of glad I got out of it when I did, because it does not look good. And unfortunately, it looks like it grabbed, somebody in the profit community and might be taking them down the toilet too. But I haven't reached out to them yet to find out. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is really sad and disappointing. It's a product that I invented, and I don't think I was treated fairly in that whole deal. And, they tried to keep it up and running without me, but I was the brains and engineering behind it. And, when you get rid of me, it didn't work out so good. The bottom line was, it's just like Chinese Sabers. You get what you pay for. If you don't want to pay me for the work that I'm doing, you get what you pay for. Which is a big mess. That's what that company is right now. It's one big giant mess. And, it could have all been settled in December. And, that's the problem. That's why I get mad at people that are buying Chinese Sabers, because they're driving, I don't know, they're driving the quality of the products down. And I know a lot of people gripe about the cost of custom Sabers, and yes, they're expensive. But if you buy 3 of your Chinese Sabers at $300 with the blade, and you break all 3 of those Sabers and break all 3 of the blades in short order, which you're going to do, you could have bought a custom Saber and had a decent Saber in the first place. If you want a custom Saber, save up your money and buy an installed Saber from Solo's Sabers, somebody like that. Don't buy a Chinese Saber. Chinese Sabers, Chinesium, they're no good. But at any rate, yeah, Robert Myers is gathering up parts for his Graflex. So Robert, I have an ESP Graflex here, and you can see this one has the ESP buttons. That has the clamp card, the Otis with this one side soldered. The small skinny tips up there are actually soldered. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see the soldered tips there on this Otis card. And then of course you got the tape that's covering the Graflex logo, which that's, the Mylar tape. And, those are the telltales on ESP. Now, also, on ESP, technically, you're supposed to remove the beer tab. This one still has the beer tab. And, that thing is awesome. That thing is awesome. So, I wish you luck in building your ESP Saber. This is Eric Sarmiento's ESP Graflex. And, this is the one that we fixed the buttons on a couple of weeks ago. And this thing's probably going to Eric Sarmiento like tomorrow or the next day. I got to talk to Eric and find out, but I'm going to boot it. And the cool part is, there you can see everything running on that chassis. Sarmiento's got a pretty awesome Saber there. This is the ESP chassis for Sarmiento. But I'm going to put the rear of the hilt back on, and then I'm going to hit the button so you guys can hear that it has edit mode.
Volume menu. Exiting volume menu. Battery level 4.03 volts. Edit mode, edit style, edit color, edit font, edit track, edit settings, copy preset, exit.
That's your Saber, Sarmiento. Smooth Jazz Family just clicked on. And, you know, it's got gesture controls and everything. Thing is awesome. But Sarmiento, it's on OS 6 now. This thing is better than when I installed it. I mean, I can't believe it. That's the cool part about Profi, man, is you can take a Saber that was installed 2 years ago and turn it into the modern thing just by reprogramming it. So I fixed the buttons, rewrote the config file to a modern Profi. The only thing, Sarmiento, you cannot change anything but Blade 1 as far as color and style. Don't mess around with Blade 2 and 3. Leave Blades 2 and 3 alone. Blade 2 is your crystal chamber. Blade 3 is the little things in the back of the chassis. Don't mess around with those. Just mess around with Blade 1. But other than that, you know, rocking and rolling. So listen, we're coming up on an hour, and you know that Birchie would not want us to go past an hour. So in Birchie's honor, let's throw up hashtag nerd up. And, you know, I really appreciate y'all hitting the like button on my videos if you like what I'm doing here. And, you know, I'm going to try to go live next week and we'll install this KR Flagship that we deinstalled or deconstructed tonight. And, you know, after that, maybe we'll work on some PCBs from Kim Kanama. So, you know, everybody, and by the way, Smooth Jazz Family, there's about $70 in shipping. You and I need to talk. But I think that's a pretty good deal for fixing the buttons and rewriting your config and shipping. Shipping's probably going to be about $15. So, you know, you're getting out on the repair and the reprogram for not much money. $70 altogether shipped. That's what we're going to call it. Don't break it. Don't break it again. You know, Sarmiento, take care of that thing. It's an awesome Saber. It's on OS 6 now. It's an awesome deal. So, you know, nerd up everybody and take care of each other. Don't buy Chinese Sabers and tell people not to buy Chinese Sabers. You know, get your Sabers installed by people like Jeremy Puckett at Solo Sabers and other installers that are reputable here in the United States. You're going to have a better lightsaber than if you bought a Chinese Saber. These Chinese Sabers are not good. The Chinesium. So if you ever see me post Chinesium, that's why. It's frustration with people not wanting everything cheap. It was like, and a friend of mine, so like I wanted an American flag up in my office. And, you know, I went to where I could buy an American flag made in the USA. And, you know, I could have gone to Walmart and they have bigger flags, but guess where they're made? They're made in China. And I don't want an American flag made in China. And yes, I paid more for the American flag made in the USA. That's smaller. But I would prefer to have my American flag made in the USA, even though it's smaller and it costs more. I'd rather have it because it's made in the USA and some American got a job from it. Maybe that makes me crazy. Maybe that makes me, I don't know, a nationalist or whatever they want to call people like that. But to me, I think that's where we're at. I think not doing so does nothing but empower China. And you don't want China empowered right now. We need to be doing more manufacturing at home, more building at home, and less buying from China. China is bad. We don't need to be funding China's economy. Anytime you can get away from China, get away from China. It's not good. But at any rate, I think I've said enough about how I feel about China. And I think everybody's clear on it. But at any rate, that also goes to, you know, why I left that other company. And if anybody knows about that other company, is watching what goes on, PM me and let me know, because it certainly looks like it's not going well. But at any rate, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. And we'll install the Saber next week. So this KR Flagship, we're going to install this with a new chassis, Profi 1.5, and then the following week we'll probably do the programming and the flashing for that Profi board. And then, you know, in between that, I'll fix his graflex. So hopefully I have two Sabers that can go back to him in Taiwan, and you know, that's two more of the big projects off of my bench. So I got Sarmiento Saber going out, I have the Flagship and the other graflex going out, and then I have one more MHS Saber here that I have to put together for somebody at work, and then I am done with stuff on my bench, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. And then I can start working on projects that I want to work on, like my KRR cross guards, and you know, starting to get those the 2 dark sabers sent off for etching and everything. So thank you, everybody. May the force be with you. The dark side is word. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. All those things help draw people to my channel. I'm approaching 2,000 subscribers. I should do something as we approach 2,000 subscribers, so it's pretty awesome. If you're thinking about doing commissions, be very careful because demand will ramp up on you so fast that you can't do it. Only take the jobs you can do. I got way too many jobs on my bench at one time, and it scared the crap out of me. I don't like I had like 7 or 8 jobs here at the same time, and I do not like that. Historically, I've only taken 1 or 2 jobs at a time, and when I got those 8 jobs, I kind of hit the panic button, especially my old job because I just didn't have time to do them. So only do the sabers you have time to do, and be careful. You can get in over your head really quick, and a lot of people take people's money and run. You don't want to take people's money and run. And my favorite customer in Taiwan, I almost want to send him back everything because I have a bunch of his other sabers here too, but I don't want to hang on to them any longer. I want to send him back everything that I have of his and get on with it. So, at any rate, I gotta go. Time to go. But Janice, we can talk more next week. I'll be doing the install on this KR Sabers, next week in this new chassis. It's going to be awesome, and we'll see you guys then. But thank you for tuning in. Hit that like, subscribe, share my videos. If something was useful and came in useful and was handy, share it. Share it on your Facebook page. Share it on your YouTube channel. And we will see you all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Monday at 8 p.m. Later all. Later.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, as usual. I really appreciate y'all tuning in on my channel. And as always,